and she did, like, I mean, you could tell she worked out, she took care of herself, she had a hot body. And now as a mom, I'm like, that's okay. Like, I can be hot and a mom.
Look at
And
you. Look
look
at
sexy.
you.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
but
a
I
mom,
feel like
you didn't shrivel up and die like when you had your baby.
Right.
It's not.
It's so real. Well, and I think too, it's interesting because we definitely had like the cover up. I mean, I remember one of my friends was wearing like a white cami tank one time, and my mom was like, "Oh, your brother's gonna see her. Make sure she goes and puts like a baggier shirt on top, and you couldn't show your form and whatever." But even more so than that, it was like the body image of thinness equals worthiness. Thinness equals then you do get to show it off. Like the mom that's hot, oh, of course she can show it off, but these other moms, why?
Ooh,
Look
I
at her
don't
belly, or
like
look at
that.
that, or look at these pieces. It's more of that energy around you have to like earn it to be able to show it, and it has to like just be for your husband, or it has to just be for this, versus we all deserve to wear the crop top. We can all be hot. We can all own it. We can all flaunt whatever the fuck we want, and if someone has an issue with it, that's their issue.
Yeah, I love that. You know what? I didn't even thank you for that, because I didn't even put that. And I'm like thinking, I'm like, man, I show up like my tiger stripes are always out from, you know, like I have stretch marks from Elliot, and I just rock it. Like, I love it. Like, I definitely have like wider hips than I did before I had a baby. And I don't know, I think it's sexy. Like, I love my thicker body, and it took me a while to love it, but yeah, that's really interesting. Like, you have to earn it to show it, or we can just be and show it anyway.
Right. Well, then it's the interesting dichotomy then of like, oh, well, when you're a mom, that like that's what I see a lot too in the online space. Not people trying to do that, but oh, well, I'm allowed to have tiger stripes. I'm allowed to have, you know, thicker curves, whatever, because I birthed a baby. Then there's like, okay, well, I'm in a bigger body than I have ever been, and it's like now it's such a mind fuck. For example, yoga teacher training, we have to record videos of us from the side doing yoga, and seeing yourself from the side in a shitty little video is so humbling. And you're like, oh my God, is that what I actually look like? Like, what is happening? But it's such an interesting thing, because if I had a kid, I would be like, oh, because it's an excuse of like, oh, well, I had a baby. Okay, cool. Or I'm just a little bit bigger, a little curvier than I normally am right now. And I also get to flaunt it. So it's such an interesting thing, because I don't think that like you're doing that to have the excuse, but it's interesting because as someone in my head who grew up with the thinness equals this, I'm thinking, oh, well, once I have a kid, then I earn the right to maybe have the stretch marks or whatever, where I have stretch marks and I have, you know, curves now, wider hips, you know, thicker thighs, cellulite, I have a little tummy, all these things. It's such an interesting world of like, but I'm still just as worthy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's totally true. This is beautiful, because so like my weight always fluctuated. Like, even when I was younger, I don't know if that was similar to you guys. Like growing up with all my girlfriends, I was the heavier of everyone. Like, I was always a little bit heavier.
Same.
I wouldn't say like at all that I was obese or whatever. Like, I think that that's kind of, I don't know, that I don't really like that terminology. Because who's to decide? But anyway, so I was always a little bit heavier. And then I got really like skinny in quotation marks towards the end of high school, and like, you know, hot bod quotation marks.
You can say it.
And then right out of high school, like into college, like I worked on a presidential campaign. So I gained a lot of weight. I think I gained like 60 pounds. Like, people actually asked me if I was pregnant. I had gained so much weight. So I experienced that after I had lost the weight, got really fit, like really deep into my fitness journey. Like, I still had that. I was super fit, super skinny. Like people would look at me and be like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Like, you're like the ideal body. Yep. I still only saw the stretch marks, the cellulite, the like saggy skin around my belly. And I still don't feel worthy, but it's really interesting, because then going through that process again, having Elliot, now for whatever reason, like in my mind that like, oh, but you had a baby, so it's now acceptable. Like, isn't that interesting? Like the flip side of that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so I remember I like kind of struggled with an eating disorder until from like I don't really know like when the official start date was, but probably around like 16 until like 19. And I remember people telling me like how great my body looked. And then I like really started to heal it. And so I like started gaining weight because I started like eating again and not
Weird
like
how that works.
killing myself after like I did and like working out,
Yeah.
but not to the point where I was like doing before.
Right.
And then like those compliments stopped. And it's so
Same.
interesting because I'm like, I think about it now and I look at the pictures of when it was really bad and like I still like hate looking. I think I posted one, it was like me playing basketball and I was so skinny and I was so thin, but even at that point in time like I thought I was like super heavy. And now like I love my body, but like I don't get those compliments anymore of like, you have such an amazing body. Like I don't get that. And I'm just like, that's so interesting that that's what we look at and we think that person is healthy when mentally I was like such a mess and like really my body was a mess too. Like I couldn't really even get through a game or like a workout without wanting to like pass out. And so like it's just so interesting that like we equate skinniness to like looking good and health.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah.